welcome back for another episode of the Launch Sequence podcast. This is episode 32, first episode of 2022, the great year of our Lord Pico, and I've got one of the greatest names in Star Citizen with me today, the legendary board gamer, my friend. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Still working off the New Year celebrations, I'm guessing.
I am, as I previously told you, I'm still slightly hungover.
Yeah, I get that. It was a fun night, though. I hope you had a good time. Hope you had some good holidays, good Christmas and everything.
Yeah, it was stress-free for the most part, which is the first stress-free Christmas I've had in probably my whole life that I can remember.
Well, I'm happy for that. Good to hear, man. Thank you. That is great. It's been a year. 2021 was quite the year for a lot of different things. Star Citizen, though, had a very interesting year, and a great one, in my opinion, but also one with a few interesting tidbits. But before we get into Star Citizen, because today, for everybody who's coming and watching, it's going to be really all about Star Citizen. What's going on with it right now? What's the next year looking like? And what do you think about last year? But first, I kind of want to talk about Board Gamer yourself and the content you make, because a lot of people know you on YouTube. They know the stuff that you make. Many people come see your videos for the first time every week, but you obviously started somewhere. Did you start making stuff for Star Citizen?
So originally, I started my channel. I think I was doing Natural Selection 2, Diablo 3, and Titanfall contents. It was just sort of games I was playing at the time. Because I just come out of running and owning restaurants and bars and things.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's very stressful. And I was like, I want to do something a bit less stressful. And I just started sort of recording some gameplay stuff and messing around and trying to learn to edit. Something I've always been pretty poor at, but and then after having a reasonable amount of success with Diablo 3 stuff, sort of guides from there, I just happened upon Star Citizen when I was thinking about doing some EVE Online content, and went, actually, this could be quite a big game, quite a big community, and I really like the idea of it. So that's sort of how my foray into Star Citizen started. It was just a few little videos about, well, because I couldn't find any content creators really that were explaining Star Citizen in the way that I wanted it explained, which is what's going on with it, what is it, what's its goals, how is it going to get there,
Mm-hmm.
and then start talking about its funding and sort of break down its news. Obviously, there were the Star Citizen channels for that. They sort of had the Wingman's Hangar and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. 10 for the chairman and all that.
Yeah, but then there was quite a lot of that, and it was sort of like, well, people would ask the same questions constantly and consistently because, well, they hadn't watched the first episode of one of these things. So I just started compiling that information together and talking about it regularly, and then trying to put it into context. That was my first sort of few videos, and then for quite a while I did a quite Noobify-esque crush the information down as small as possible.
Yeah.
But then I realised that I actually prefer to talk about a bit more of the context behind a lot of stuff, and then put a few more of my thoughts in there. I don't think I overly bloat stuff hugely, but obviously it's not as compact as it could be anymore. I quite enjoy that style as it's evolved, maybe.
Yeah, and so since then it's felt like the content, like the formula has been able to remain the same, because for whatever reason, whether they choose to or not, CIG hasn't yet come up with a good way to keep that kind of information coming out in the way that you described, so that people aren't asking the same questions over and over. Does it feel like you're mainly going for that same goal of just trying to package things up and explain it in ways that CIG doesn't necessarily hit with their own programming?
Maybe. I think actually CIG have actually got pretty good at doing a lot of the news and stuff with inside Star Citizen. There's still a load of information constantly being flung at you from lots of different sources, from Spectrum to Reddit to inside Star Citizen to Star Citizen Live to the roadmap updates to the actual what's happening in an actual patch or an event. So there's always things going on, and it's nice to have them compiled together or put in context. because obviously CIG have only got a limited amount of time they can dedicate to their own videos.
Yeah.
But so I actually think that CIG have got better at it. But for me, it allows me to make a wider mix of content, because then I can sort of look at, as they add more and more stuff and talk about more and more features, we can look at how that affects other features that they've got planned and how other ships are going to be affected by it. And we can have that news content as well. But then there's a load of stuff we can do on the roadmap and talk about stuff. And then we can actually analyze the business itself. And there's a huge amount going on constantly. And yeah, I do think CIG have got better at sort of telling us about it. But there's always more that we can do as content creators to sort of share that information or put the news out.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say over the last couple of years, they've gotten much better at delivering content in different ways, like making these nice posts on Spectrum that have a lot of details, or even putting out like an extra video here or there, making these nicer patch release videos and all that kind of stuff. It's been good. And with that has come a lot more types of content creators and YouTubers. I mean, obviously, I started, I think, like 2 years ago, which was when I feel like things started to speed up a bit. But we've seen a lot more people coming in like the last year, maybe since then, with different types of content. Some of it's been more story or narrative based. Some of it is kind of more news oriented, like you would do. Do you see a shift in the type of content that's being made? Because as you said, now they're starting to talk more about like the more interesting aspects of the game, like the actual game itself, and not those background systems. Do you
I see what you mean. I mean, there's constantly, as with all YouTube and all content, there's a constant sort of cycle and shift, and sort of like it's always going to change a bit. There's a lot more people making content than there originally used to be. So we have a lot more variety for sure. And I think there's a place for more and different content constantly. I'm not sure if I'm seeing a shift. What I was expecting to see is more machinima, to be honest. And I see occasional machinima, and I see some quite good machinima, but I thought there'd be a lot. So sort of surprised about that.
Okay. You think that's just because the things like FOIP and stuff haven't really kept up as much as people were hoping for those features to come in?
I don't know. I think the camera stuff's there, and you can bodge FOIP for camera work and for machinima. I think. I don't know. I haven't really looked into why there isn't.
Okay.
Of the little machinimas and stuff that I've seen, that there's some absolutely fantastic ones, which proves it can be done. I think that one of the things is when a good machinima starts, if you get a pilot or whatever, CIG hire a load of the people that made it. I have that feeling.
That is, after talking to a couple of groups, it seems like that people are looking for that. Maybe not hiring, but at least some form of a partnership that they know can continue going forward.
Yeah. Anything that I've seen has been good, Star Citizen wise, like Trellian and stuff. They got snapped up after they started doing their machinima. And I was like, okay,
right.
Well, it's a sort of shame, but it's cool. But it's also a shame for the community.
Yeah. But they do that. CIG is very community focused, and we've seen over the years that they like to hire people out of the community who show the same passion for the game.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, and they're going to need to hire a lot of people, especially with their new studios. So.
Yeah. So that's actually a great segue, kind of, for what I wanted to talk about, which is generally like where Star Citizen is now. This is such a loaded topic, because I feel like any point in the year you can ask this and you'll get half the community saying that it's a horrible place, like things are not going well, and the other half of the community will be like, well, like there's a lot of stuff that's coming up that I'm super excited about in this current gameplay.
I think a good way of then discussing that is like, if you were an entirely new player jumping into Star Citizen now, what would you think?
Okay.
Because I think that 3.16 is in a pretty good place for accessibility and performance and stability.
Right.
I'd say, but it's by far the most stable Star Citizen I've ever played version of it. And there's a good amount to do now, and that I've got pretty good accessibility to all the missions without them breaking. So from a standpoint of how alpha's the game, well, it's the least alpha it's ever been. I mean, it's if they just packaged it up as a, you know what, we're just doing a single star system. Obviously, this is not what's happening. Go, it's a single star system. This is how we're releasing the beta of Star Citizen. If it was like a much smaller project, I think people would be like, okay, this is a cool little beta.
Yeah.
So it's obviously got a tiny amount of its planned features and everything, and it is alpha very much so. But I'm just saying that if it was repackaged and released, and you were like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. If you were a new player and didn't know anything about Star Citizen, you hadn't known it's been being developed for like 10 years.
Yeah, I can see it. It's like a nice little pocket of gameplay right now. There's little stability issues, but it's at a place where like somebody could jump in and get a solid days worth of game. Like I remember a couple years ago, you could be like, yeah, you'd get like 2 to 3 hours of gameplay, but it might not be that great. Like now you could tell
someone, might only have 2 to 3 frames.
Yeah, exactly. I love the shirt, by the way. I got a glimpse of it.
Oh yes,
it is beautiful. For anybody who's just listening, it is the Thomas the Tank, but as a tank with somebody riding inside.
Well, it used to be called the Fat Controller, but I don't think he's called the Fat Controller anymore. So I think that is fat shaming. I think he's like Tubby Boy or something.
Just the controller now.
I was going to say he might be called Gordon or something, but I think that's another one of the engines.
Gordon. I could see a Gordon driving a tank like that. But regardless, out of the segue, or out of the distraction. So for a new player who's coming in and trying out the game and getting into the 316, like, yeah, it's got some good stuff to play, but backing out to where backers are looking and looking at some of the things that have happened recently. So like, let's talk about CitizenCon, good news and also a little disappointing news coming out of that. Some of the new ship releases have maybe got some people feeling a little not as happy, and just the general vibe around the community. You know, it ebbs and flows. We've got our cycles, and right now I think a lot of the things that are hurting people are specific. I think the Cutlass Steel honestly really got people going. That one. And
do you think the Odyssey was people more angry about the Odyssey or more angry about the Cutlass Steel?
Well, the Cutlass Steel wasn't out yet, right?
That's a good point. Well, obviously,
the Cutlass Steel being people angry about the Odyssey.
I suppose.
I think the Cutlass Steel probably received some life force from the Odyssey disappointment.
Okay, no, I see what you mean.
Yeah, I think the whole month of December kind of felt like that because you had. I liked Luminalia, to be honest. I liked what they did with it. I think that there were a couple missteps there, but people did have some problems with things that happened during Luminalia. And then 316 also lost some of its features, plus the Odyssey, and then the Cutlass Steel. I think it all kind of compounded a little bit.
So I do think that maybe it felt that December was a bit rushed. And obviously we got a relatively gutted 3.16 release, which was effectively the 3.15 branch with a couple of features added onto it.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have preferred and prefer that scenario of a more gutted 3.15 build than a broken 3.16 build over the sort of holiday period. Because I never want to go back to the place where Star Citizen is prohibitively broken.
Yeah. It was not fun getting a patch at the end of December and then waiting 3 weeks to see if the major problems get fixed.
I think that's obviously one of the reasons that they had to push Xenothreat, because it was broken originally. But I think okay, I like the Luminalia. I liked the little packages they had on the floor, even though people got upset that they got nerfed.
Right.
But I think that the problem is they shouldn't have nerfed them. They should have probably reduced the amount that spawned, or they should have had the lower value to start with, but not nerf the amount that each package gives you, because that just upset people.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people were upset about the calendar stuff. Like, I really liked that. I thought the good little gifts. I know some people were like, "Oh, this looks awesome." Oh, it's a wallpaper. Oh yeah, it's only little calendar gifts. Come on.
I think they could have. I think they could have done that part a little bit. Not the wallpaper, but definitely the thing with the hovercraft probably could have been done a little bit better.
Yeah, maybe. Um, I was fine with it.
Yeah.
I'm glad that it wasn't like a loot box opening with each calendar door.
Mm,
Because I was like, oh no, this is a bad sign for the future.
yeah.
Um, but no, I thought December and Luminalia were pretty good and
Cool.
pretty chill. I mean, I think the thing that upset me the most over that whole period was the Ares Ion getting changed.
Right.
Saying I love my Ion.
Yeah, so I
Um,
never really got that deep into that, but the idea being that the Ion was sold as this precise anti-capital class fighter, right? Not something that could tussle with the smaller fighters, but they wanted to nerf it and bring it more in line with what they had described it as, right? And some people feel like they didn't go about doing that the right way.
yeah, I mean, and so very much my idea of the ship, and obviously how it was basically originally sold, was a accurate, high damage, slow rate of fire laser cannon. Okay, and obviously, if a light fighter or a medium fighter gets very close to you, you can't really keep up with them. You can't really hit them very much with your big gun. However, now when one flies directly at you and you fire, your gun will still miss them. And it's just like, and it fires really fast, and it's got much lower alpha damage, and it's just not, it just doesn't excite me anymore. It's like, okay, it's been balanced, and it'll probably change and get rebalanced again and again and again. And
Right.
that's part of Star Citizen, obviously, especially at the moment when we haven't got physicalized components even. But I do think it was that sort of disappointed me. I was like, oh, this isn't what I wanted at all.
Right. Well, I wanted to go back to what we were just talking about before the Ion, which is kind of just the vibe that's going on with the community right now. Your feelings of Star Citizen now versus other times in January, which is already a slow month. It sounds like you're pretty gung ho about it though. Like things are looking pretty good.
Uh, I mean, Star Citizen continues to be developed. They're making a huge amount of money, and they've got loads of plans. And I think Star Citizen's in a really stable place. And every month is another month towards a more released game. The development is very slow, but I'm always relatively upbeat and optimistic because I genuinely am excited for every little bit of content they release for the game. So
Really does.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how good my critical analysis of the game is when I'm sort of like always quite excited about every
Yeah.
little bit of it.
That's kind of it's people. I mean, you've gotten this, no doubt, but like people will say, "Oh, you're so biased. You never talk negatively about the game." And I'm like, "Well, that's because I follow the game because I'm excited about it." And you mentioned the
That's
things,
because they don't watch my videos when I am negative about
right?
it. And
Yeah,
they just watched my positive video that just been like me talking about a feature that I'm really excited about.
yeah,
And they go, "Oh, you're a shill." Well, I was like, "Well, I love Star Citizen, but I get annoyed at things they do and things they don't like, and sometimes the way that the company's inefficient or miss the mark with something."
yeah,
So,
yeah. I think people miss that. The people who say that stuff kind of miss the point that you can make a positive video and still have negative points in it. You can't just read
yeah.
the headline of a video and be like, "Oh, this person's always positive." So,
But
yeah,
I think what it is that I have a innate bias that I do believe the game is going to be a great game, both Squadron 42 and Star Citizen, that they will release within my lifetime. and and there will be a large portion of content and gameplay there that I really love, and obviously some that I don't, which I will then avoid, and I won't do the gameplay roles that I don't enjoy.
right.
But because I genuinely believe that, when I talk about any of the features or even delays or whatever, I've got it in mind that, well, it's all part of the course. I mean, there is obviously going to be delays. There is obviously going to be these problems, and they'll, as we've seen historically, work through them. The thing is with Star Citizen, it is a very slow burn project. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and there's a lot more time and development that needs to go into the game before it's finished.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. So looking at the way that people are seeing the game, then let's talk a little bit about the press because they're always a fun topic and they've always got great things to say. Recently, you put a video out about this. They did their whole "who has the worst business model" thing, and I was reading through it, and I was just like, I had trouble reading through it, but something that keeps on coming to my mind, and this is something that I realized in the last 6 months or so, It came up back when they did the whole land claim thing. I think it came up during the
Mhm.
beta last summer. But just this idea that the press kind of is helpful to the community when it comes to putting pressure on CIG if there needs to be, um, or if
Yeah, yeah.
there needs to be noise made about something. And many people will say, "Hey, the press is putting out this stuff. Let's ignore them. Don't talk to them. Don't like have anything to do with them because they won't listen." But I do feel like the press kind of needs to be on the side of at least the community and more.
I,
Go ahead.
I'm very pro the press of any description, whether they're pro or anti or have their own bias or whatever, covering Star Citizen, talking about what they want,
Hmm.
because it brings attention to the game and people can make their own decision after that. It doesn't matter if they're biased to some extent. So the video that I did about Master DOP, I think you're probably referencing,
Hmm.
where they talked about their worst business model. I had a bit of a rant about that, but I mean they're well within their rights to do that, and I sort of think it's important that they do. I just got annoyed that it's always going to be Star Citizen for the next 5 years for them, even when there are clearly games with worse business models potentially, and I'm not sure if I should name them as to annoy different members of different communities. But there are obviously some very dodgy crypto games,
Yeah.
and there's some very dodgy land sell games where they sell land for real money. Um,
And
but
they're pretty easy to find too. I mean, like they're big in the
yes,
press. These aren't some small random projects that would be out eclipsed by Star Citizen by any means. And I was wondering, do you? So you said the next 5 years. That's what they're going to be saying. Do you feel like? I feel like there's been some change, at least for some publications recently. We've seen, especially
yes.
videos, things like from Tech Longer, the Linus Tech Tick group. They did a great one, and Digital Foundry has done some great videos. Do you think we're going to start to see more of that, especially this year with some possibilities
Yeah.
coming?
So I do think that the media over the last 18 months have softened quite a lot to Star Citizen. There's a lot more sort of talking about Star Citizen accolades and where they've hit certain points. Um, I'm not entirely sure why that is. I have seen a lot of new writers for a lot of publications that haven't previously covered Star Citizen being quite soft on it and sort of like quite not necessarily pro but neutral about it. Um, and I I think at some point CIG will start doing a traditional marketing campaign for Star Citizen. When they start doing stuff like that, you'll notice that the publications are a lot more willing to engage in a more friendly way because obviously they're sort of being incentivized to do that. Either because other people are excited about it or because they're getting paid in some way to advertise it. Um, so I think there is an element of that that you'll start to see a bit of a shift. Um, and I think that just as Star Citizen generally gets more and more developed, um, people see it rather than any form of scam or this is a ridiculous project, as they're actually given enough time and money, they will actually be able to do it. And you saw there's also this a load of games which are pretty shoddy and trash that were supposed to be quite exciting, like AAA games, that I think people have got a bit of fatigue. Uh, oh, so we've been told that these games are going to be good and they're terrible or
Yeah.
broken, like Battlefield 2042, for example, I still enjoy it, even though it's a bit broken and there's a lot of problems with it.
Hmm.
But I think people wanted a fully polished game. Um, so I just think people are sort of like, well, actually, I'm willing to give Star Citizen a chance.
Do you think this is the year for it? Like, is the game at a good point where it could? I don't want to say blow up or anything, but we've seen some pretty big momentum.
I mean, they're going to get probably another record-breaking year
Right.
financially, and a load more people, and the game will come a bit more mainstream. I don't think we're going to see a mainstream um, popular Star Citizen until they either release Theatres of War and it's in a good state, or they release Squadron 42. Then I think that they can have a significantly more mainstream um, sort of persistent universe.
Do you think that there's a chance that I was just thinking about this and I ran into the roadblock? I'll explain the whole thing. I was thinking that what if Squadron 42 had ended up coming out like this year and Star Citizen wasn't ready for the resultant media blitz, right? So everybody's playing Squadron, it's amazing. Oh, well, let's try out Star Citizen. It's more of the same, right? And then they get into it and it's horrible. Do you think there's going to be a point where Squadron 42 could release still too early, like say a year and a half from now, and Star Citizen's not ready?
Yeah, I see what you mean. That there is certainly something to be said for being able to continue the hype onto the actual release of the
Right.
the MMO of the persistent universe. And if you can't do that, you are going to lose some of those people that would have transferred. But that said, I think as soon as people are aware that it's an alpha and do a bit of research, then it's going to be accepted as such. That said, I mean, I do think Star Citizen will be in a reasonably good place before Squadron 42 is released, even if Squadron magically and mystically releases at the end of this year. What I do think is that before we see any form of mainstreamy persistent universe, or even a larger amount of people playing it, there needs to be a new player experience for Star Citizen's persistent universe, of which there is none.
Yeah. Yeah. It's god awful. I'm really hoping I'm really hoping they fix the starter ships. I really want to see some gold passes on the starter ships.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I don't know what they're thinking by not having a new game experience, because obviously it's contained on the website and other content creators produce a load of tutorials. But you want to be able to do it all in game and understand it all in game and test all the gameplay out in game and have a little bit of signposting and a tiny bit of hand holding. And by gold pass, do you mean just being able to get the ship back immediately and them being just updated so they're just a bit better, the starships?
Yeah. I would like a newcomer to like get a Mustang and be like, okay, I could run a box mission on this. You know, I'm not guessing on whether or not this is going to work, or they will always have all of the buttons physicalized and the switches know where they are. Like the little things that we get with these newer ships are super nice. I feel like beginners should be getting that. They should be getting the absolute best Star Citizen has to offer.
No, I think you're right. I think that the ships they should prioritize are Squadron 42 ships and then starter ships.
Yeah, that's fair.
For sure. Because you're right. I forget about that because obviously I don't use starter ships that much. But that's very elitist of me. And you should have those starter ships should be the most developed and the most sort of like clicky and tactile and gold passed. Yeah.
I hope we see another starter ship this year. I know some people have said like maybe it doesn't necessarily need to be something that's completely different, but I would like to see something that's just a little diversified. Give people another choice in terms of that bottom line. Because right now it's still, I think the Aurora, the Mustang, I think the 100i is still more expensive. The Pisces is 50. Do you know what ships are at that $45 baseline?
I thought it was just the Aurora and the Mustang at 40 at the lower end of it, especially with packages.
Yeah, it might just be for the packages, and then if they do like special sales, you'll get a discounted Nomad or something. But I think it's just those two ships, and I'd really like if at the very least those two ships were updated, or there was another one for people coming in.
I do like. See, I always like the Avenger Titan, but if you want to buy the game at the cheapest possible value, you do want to grab an Aurora MR or a Mustang Alpha.
Yeah.
And I don't want to incentivize people really to spend any more money on the game than they have to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice because the Aurora Titan package is the price of a normal game. So for anybody who's just looking at Star Citizen, you know, you kind of buy it thinking that. But yeah, it's kind of the Titan is that perfect ship that's just a little more expensive than I feel comfortable telling people right off the bat.
Yeah, well, it's because you can get it in game even now. That's the thing. And if you're like, oh, I want to start with something better, well, why don't you play the game with your starter ship and get the money to buy that ship using the gameplay that you hopefully will be enjoying?
Right. I've started to I think definitely by the end of this year I'll be more settled on this. But as we've started with 315, with like the medical and inventory stuff, and now mining is, multi-crew mining is working out fairly well. I'm almost considering telling newcomers to start out crewing on somebody else's ship, not even think about running missions on their own ship.
If it was quicker and easier to find a group to do that with randomly when you just joined in, if like it didn't have to be in an org or anything.
Like there's a bulletin
There was
board
like
at the space stations or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
or something like that. I think that would be a fantastic idea, because I genuinely think that one of the ways that you can get around having tutorials in game is by having players teach other players and just getting involved with some things like that. But you need accessibility to that. I mean, I think being able to have missions where you're crewing in an AI or NPC ship that's flying around and just being a turret gunner and stuff like that, that's a good sort of experience that they could easily put in the game that would teach you a load of stuff.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Because there's a popular saying, I think I mostly hear it in info runners, but that right now a lot of playing the game is actually playing the website. So like you go to the website, like for the new player's guide, like you said, or for the Luminalia stuff. I think Astropub was saying it would be nice if they started to bring that stuff more into the game and allowed people to group up. I was surprised that our group play system hasn't improved that much in the last couple of years.
I mean, if you already know the people and everything, it's pretty good and pretty easy.
Yeah.
I do hear, especially with Jumptown, a load more people on comms constantly, just randomly talking, and I actually engage people in conversation, and then realise that my microphone's not working in game and it's a bit annoying, or something like that. But there are a lot of systems in place. There could just be little tweaks and a few other little things to really make a bit more community and a bit more sort of player engagement with each other, because that's what you want. You want players that wouldn't normally play with each other to actually talk with each other.
Right. And as they keep bringing in some of these newer features, things like the medical system or the inventory system, or maybe even like the cargo refactor later this year, I feel CIG is going to start to notice more of these little problems that bug people on a daily basis. Like, you know, like you say, Jumptown's in, now people are noticing more comms problems. Maybe that'll lead to more of these small things getting fixed that people are really asking for.
Yeah. But I mean, if they can, I think they do have teams working specifically on player experience and quality of life.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the major sort of umbrellaed features that they've got planned for, I think 3.17, is the player experience, with loads of like tooltippy type things and potentially tutorial type stuff ish. So hopefully that will be a nice little update.
Yeah, I know we've been seeing like player experience, cockpit experience kind of things on the release view over the last couple of years that have been getting pushed back. Is that's something that's on the 3.17 branch?
Well, yes, I mean, you're going to see general player experience improvements for every patch, but as a specific feature, they have player interaction experience as a feature on 3.17.
That's awesome.
So
I hope that stays in.
Load of features bundled together.
That's good. Well, talking about future features then, getting into the exciting questions, what is, and you know, disregarding like server meshing or Gen 12 or the quantum system, like the big given answers, what is something that's really, you feel like is going to really push the game forward this year that is tentative? Obviously nothing's confirmed, but
I think potentially the cargo refactor is probably one of the largest things, because that you got sort of persistent hangars and the cargo refactor, and sort of more of the game's economy coming online. And if you can start looting people's ships, if you can start more sort of readily and take all their cargo, and you can start transferring cargo, and there's costs associated with it, and you actually get a more expanded economy that sort of works a bit better, that gets people to play the game, because there's more reasons to play the game, and all of the sort of like gameplay features are then supported by each other and are sort of more interconnected. One of the things I was upset that didn't make 3.16's release was the Quanta stuff, the dynamic universe sim stuff, that was going to have the price of repair and fuel dynamic and encounters sort of controlled by the Quanta system.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably going to be like a 3.18 feature with the cargo refactor. I mean, roughly, if these sort of features turn up. And I think that's sort of like, a lot of people are going to be more excited about salvage, but I'm excited about salvage, but I think that the cargo system refactor and persistent hangars does push the game further.
I mean, we're kind of hoping that the cargo refactor will affect salvage too, and then we can move things around physicalized from one ship to another when we're salvaging stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So the cargo refactor is a definite big one. Do you think that we're going to see anything big on the org side of things? This is something that I get questions about a lot, and I have no
I
clue.
don't know. I don't know why we haven't. Like the org features. I there's tiny little improvements that should have been in the game years ago for org features. So seeing your org members as a different color,
Mhm.
having people's org affiliation shown when you scan them or when you select them, things like that. But also being able to potentially have shared ships and org hangers, things just. And then there's millions of other little things. But I don't know why they're not in the game. Like to me, that's so important, so essential in an MMO or a game where you're trying to get groups together.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know why. I keep on thinking it will be the next patch where they'll just put it in.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure why they haven't.
It's one of those things because as an org, you don't really want to like you want to let everybody have fun and play the game as much as they want to be played, but at the same time, you're also like, okay, well, your player's organization, your player's reputation is going to affect your org reputation, but that's not in the game yet. And so I'm always thinking like, when is it that we're going to have to flip that switch where all of these orgs are going to have to start considering the missions they take because or all these players are going to have to consider the missions they take because it
Yeah,
affects their
yeah,
org. Um, and are they going to be able to balance the amount of gameplay available to people when they do that? That a lot of these changes that we've been thinking about, like, gosh, like the quantum system for one. I keep looking at it and I'm like, well, if there's not enough missions in the background to make this worthwhile, could that be why they're holding it off? Do you think that
Oh yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you on that, and that's probably why. Um,
just be more work than it's worth to implement it right now for less gain?
well, I do think that if they had tried to implement that in 3.16, we'd have a much more buggy experience than we currently have
Yeah,
for the game now.
yeah,
I
that's
just don't
true.
think there was enough time to get it in.
That's fair. Yeah, it. We were saying it earlier in the podcast for those who are listening, and 316 being a light patch, while disappointing, and while it's kind of a bummer that some of the stuff got pushed out, and it's relatively small. This has also been a very tough time of the year because January is light, and that last patch kind of gets dropped and then left. So it's good that they're able to do something a little lighter, especially after a big patch like 315, and let the stability, I guess, reset for the year. You can almost say.
Yeah, yeah.
So we talked about the big feature that you would be, looking forward to pushing the game forward. This one might be a little bit more hard, but what is something that you feel could ruin the year for Star Citizen?
I mean, obviously, delays and problems with the implementation of some of the features. Like, if, for example, if they don't get salvage in this year, I mean, that will be the
Oh,
most delayed and announced feature that they've ever had. Um, I mean, yeah. I mean, if they don't communicate properly, because Cloud Imperium they're pretty good at communication at the moment, but they have gone and slipped previously into poor communication phases.
hmm
We don't know how the um, new Squadron 42 centric development sort of release strategy is going to affect what we're going to see in 2022 yet. So the next couple of roadmap updates, especially during January, should we should be able to work out what the sort of release goals and the sort of focus for Cloud Imperium is.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will give us some indicators if they're on the right track or if it's going to be an exciting year or a droughty year. Um, I mean, they're not a junior company anymore. They've been making this game for 10 years. They're expanding their studios massively. Could there be problems if they try and expand their studio? They get over leveraged. There's more lockdowns. Yes, that's a genuine worry to me. But I suppose we sort of have to wait and see with a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. This,
Um,
I gotta say, this is probably the most uncertain year I've been. This is the most uncertain I've been at the beginning of a year since 3.0 was dropping. I would say I feel like there's a lot
okay, yeah, yeah.
going on that can define the future of this project as almost I wouldn't say it feels like the 2014 sort of time period with the planet stuff, but I feel like Star Citizen's at kind of a teetering point of being just the game that everybody is looking at, like is excited for this amazing space MMO, and also trying to be something more. Which I think it was Tyler who commented on this with somebody else. I think it was the Linus Tech Tips video I was talking about, where he referred to it as a universe sim instead of a space sim, and
Yeah.
we've seen different things that kind of point towards there's definitely an expansion of this game that's happening sort of in like the foundations, boat parameters and stuff like that, and like the different AI systems that they're doing and all that. And I feel like this year's really gotten to a point where I'm like, I have no idea where we're gonna end it. Um, my main concern is the marketing. I don't know how you've felt about the way that marketing has changed over the last couple of years. Have you noticed a change or?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at the metrics as well, so I know some people don't like a lot of the marketing changes, but it makes them a lot more money,
Yeah,
and it's hard to argue with that,
it
especially when
is.
they're a company that are trying to fund their game. So
Yeah, it works very well for them. And that's probably where the biggest disagreement in the community is going to come from is that a lot of people are going to look at the success of what they're doing and say, this is working. This is what I want to see. Keep building this and keep the money coming in. Whereas some people are going to look at it and say, hey, you know what? We've got a good vision here. We've got a group of people. Let's not try to keep growing at a crazy rate and not try to keep making money. And I feel like there's going to be a pretty big split there in the community.
I do think there's a contingent of the community, or at least people that only occasionally follow Star Citizen, that will say, "Stop building spaceships, stop funding the game, and just build it."
Right.
Obviously, I think that's a sort of a relatively ridiculous thing to say personally, but I do think that a large amount of people think that.
Yeah.
They do not like the monetization model of Star Citizen,
Hmm.
and sort of never have. Whereas I don't think we would have seen Star Citizen be able to become the game that it's trying to become without it.
Definitely. And I think there's a huge spectrum. I'm just starting to kind of realize that there's this huge spectrum between those people who are saying, "Hey, stop building ships, stop putting in new features, just work on the game," and the people who say, "You know what? Keep following what's working, keep doing what CIG is good at, and keep building whatever it is that people want to see." Um, I certainly fall somewhere in the middle there, but I think there's a huge swath of the community who doesn't actually know where they want this game to end up. You know,
Yeah,
they're just kind of
and
along
that
for the
seems pretty
ride.
reasonable. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
I mean,
yeah,
I think we all of us have a different idea about all the different features in game and how they're going to evolve
right.
and what we actually want from them. And we can't all be right about that. So there's going to be a load of features that are different from how we expect, and we do not enjoy because of that. So I think that's just an interesting thing that we have not really resolved yet. Is that, well, how is salvage going to be in the end? How is mining going to be in the end? How are all these mechanics going to be in the end? And am I going to enjoy them or not?
Yeah. And we've talked um, at length, everybody has talked at length about how this is a different game from normal games. You know, people will be like, oh, well, this game was in development for 5 years. This game was in development for 3 years. This game, had all the features figured out and yada, 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 all that stuff. This is clearly a different scenario, though. Star Citizen's being built alongside the community so everybody can see everything. Is it still working? I mean, they're making money, so obviously it's still working. Do you feel like they've been able to stick by their original mission to do that, or have they had to sort of change things up because they realized that building this game out in the open like this doesn't work and it was a bit idealistic?
I mean, I think CIG are constantly evolving and changing the way that they do stuff. I think sometimes they hit the mark and sometimes they miss it. I do think they're genuinely getting better. Do I agree with everything they do each month? Nope. Do I agree with a lot of it? Yeah, or at least I can see reasons behind it. If I was making the game would be very different and much worse. But yeah, I mean, I think they're doing. I mean, I've come from covering the game for many years now, and it's hugely different from their inefficiencies pre 2016.
Oh my God.
Um, so they've just a million times better.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes they miss the mark. Sometimes they don't communicate properly with the community. Sometimes they could have handled stuff in a better way. But I think overall it's reasonably good. I do want people to criticize them or say they like something or don't like something or whatever whenever they see it, because I think that's important.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that helps, even if it's not a popular opinion. As long as it's done civilly, I do think it actually helps add to the melting pot and give more ideas that people can then discuss.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say, I think this is a great talk. I kind of want to finish off though. Let's see. I wanted to talk to you about oh, what is I guess this is a good way to stop it or to finish things off. What is the main thing that you want to do in the game? Because I think most people just know you as reporting, but clearly you have some interest that brought you to Star Citizen.
Yeah, so I mean, I used to play a lot of Eve and a lot of other sort of economy-based MMOs and farming MMOs. I quite like industry in games. Stuff really for Star Citizen, it's base building, sort of, and then being able to exploit the resources in those areas. So I'll be doing lots of large-scale mining, base building, and resource extraction on planets. That's the sort of stuff I'm mainly interested in. Farming. That sort of stuff, less combat stuff. However, I'm still incredibly excited for capital ship fleet battles, boarding, and all that sort of stuff. And I will do a bit of everything, especially because I will be covering that on my channel. But yeah, it's mainly industrial and economy based stuff. I think for Zin, my editor, she's really into medical gameplay and sort of like wants to do medical rescue stuff. And from like Cyberpunk, the
Trauma team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally the trauma team. That's what she'd love to be.
Yeah, that would be cool. That's all. That's like the magic. The magic of this game. Just like everybody can come in and be like, "This is what I want to do." And
well, with trauma team, you can kind of do that now in game.
Yeah, you can come on in there to a rescue beacon, just shoot everybody in the room if you like to, and then ask who needs to be healed.
Oh, that guy I just shot.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Sorry.
I've definitely done that a couple times already. But yeah, it's like you said, you want to be an industrial person. I want to be a data broker, and
Okay.
I think that's part of what really like makes this game special. Is I never even thought of being a data broker in a game. Right, I knew like it was a thing for a while, and I've seen it in a couple games, and then it got to like I think it was Mass Effect 2. Shadow Broker, and it was like this really cool setup and all this stuff, and I saw that, and I got this dream in my head of doing that in a game, but never there was a game I could do it. And then I came across Star Citizen, and suddenly the possibility was there. But the same way that you want to build bases, Zen wants to be trauma team, somebody else wants to be fuel rats. The options of doing that stuff in this game is just I love it. But anyways, I think that about wraps it up for today. This has been a good talk. Board, thank you so much again for coming in and giving your opinions on kind of where Star Citizen is and what's going on with the game and the community as a whole. Everybody knows you, like I keep saying, but for those who don't, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you and what you do for the Star Citizen community?
You can find me on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/BoardGamerUK. And I cover Star Citizen news and talk about all the upcoming features and the roadmap and what's happening in the community, whether that be drama, whether that be sort of interesting articles, whatever. I sort of cover Star Citizen as a one-stop shop, and even occasionally have some lore videos and that sort of stuff on there as well. Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's genuinely lovely to talk to you.
Of course, man. Had to have the OG.
I appreciate that. I think that's really nice that people think that I am sort of grandfather Star Citizen content creator, but there are some other fantastic content creators out there, like yourself as well, sir. I'm glad that more and more people are coming into the game and covering it. I think it's absolutely fantastic.
It's just great that the game's getting big enough that more people can, that there's actually stuff to cover. Yeah. That's the best part, honestly, and it's been good. Well, everybody, again, Thanks for coming to episode 32 of the Launch Sequence Podcast. I've been your host, Keenan, and we're getting started off with a great 2022. A lot of good news going on. The Patreon system has been revamped, so if you'd like to check that out, please make sure to hit the links down in the show notes or the video description. I promise you're going to like what you see. But besides that, we'll have the normal stuff coming to YouTube. Got a couple tutorials, events going on. The org is active, and the podcast is going. So I'll see you guys for next week. We have another good talk going on with the Daymar Rally coming up, and I'm just looking forward to a good year. But Board Gamer, if you'd like to sign us off and tell everybody, see you next time, and we'll have a good one, everyone.
Thanks very much for watching. I appreciate you being here. Love you loads, and see you next time. Peace.